My name is Tarmack, and this is my review of Forced Showdown on PC. It's the follow-up to the game Forced by developer Dwarf, based on a Kickstarter that raised a bit over $75,000. The game is releasing on Steam, GOG, and the Humble Store on March 29th with a $19.99 US base price. They're also running a Twitch streamer event to lower the launch price based on the live stream minutes watched. If you're one of the people that's interested primarily in options and performance, you'll find a link in the description to jump to that section of the video as it's at the end. Let's get into it. What is Forced Showdown? It's a galactic game show where you're the contestant competing in gladiator battles to become a crowd favorite, or so that's what the developers say. But that's not where the game ends. They also found a way to cram Hearthstone into it. It's actually hilariously obvious how the developers are huge Blizzard fans, because the game even has a treasure goblin, sort of. Don't take that for a criticism though, they have done it in a very creative way. Each gladiator battle is a series of arena matches where your task is merely to clear out the arena level of all enemies, and you clear the levels with different characters that all have unique special abilities in a MOBA-esque fighting style. There are a ton of different enemy types, including everything from basic melee to ranged attackers, and much more complex baddies that shoot rockets and all manner of other things. The arena matches consist of 8 arenas, including a final boss that must be dealt with as well. So, where does the Hearthstone mention come into play? Well, each arena run is based on a deck of cards. The match starts with a 4-card draw from a 30-card deck. You can keep the cards or mulligan them. You also have a mana bar, which increases by 1 for each subsequent arena match in a particular gladiator battle that you win. The cards are comprised of 3 different types. Upgrade cards, which increase damage or other abilities directly and last for the whole gladiator run. You've got spells, which have unique effects that are instant, such as gaining a mana crystal temporarily, or drawing a new card that costs less than it normally does. And last, consumables, which give you, for the most part, single arena active skills that are temporary, like throwing a powerful bomb. To take you through a quick outline of how a gladiator run or show works, you start by choosing a character and a companion. The companion will have its own set of abilities and will help you out, though the AI isn't very good and they'll often get themselves killed for no apparent reason. You select which cards you want to keep out of the 4 that it draws, and if you can use any of them right away before the first run, you can choose to do so. As you progress throughout the arenas, they'll get more difficult, which you mitigate by using upgrade cards that increase your damage output or resilience. And the ultimate goal is to be powerful enough by the 8th match to be able to defeat the boss at the end. It's a very creative way of using some unique mechanics that Hearthstone has, but in an arena brawler. You start with a very basic deck of cards, and as you play, you'll gain coins which can be spent in a randomized wheel spin to start expanding your card collection. That's also where my treasure goblin comment comes into play. There's a coin wagon that you can get a good chunk of money from if you can kill it in time before it disappears. Then, you can start to build your own custom decks tailored to the characters you like most and to your own playstyle. In addition to a basic, almost arcade mode roguelite structure, the devs have included seasons as well with full leaderboard rankings. Included in those seasons are daily challenges. These come in a few forms, one being a normal daily mode where you pick your deck and your character and all that, another where the deck is set for you and character is set for you, you don't get to choose anything, and last is a one-try daily where you only get one shot in order to complete it, and if you fail, you gotta start it over again the next day. That one has beaten me several times so far. The gameplay is very satisfying with great effects, solid visceral abilities, and nice quick action. Where it really shines though is in the audio. I mean this in the nicest way possible. This is an indie game, it's the second title from Dwarf, a small studio. It's got no business having audio this good. The voice acting is absolutely top-notch, with an amazing announcer introducing the lead-up into the matches, great boss voices, and an incredible blood-pumping, action-heavy soundtrack. It plays well both with keyboard and mouse as well as controllers with a twin-stick shooter control scheme. Personally, I found that the keyboard and mouse combination was the most comfortable, as with this style of game, I prefer using the mouse to aim rather than a thumbstick. The keys can all be rebound to whatever you want as well. And they also included a feature that lets you attach your Twitch stream to your game. This way, the leaderboards will show when you're streaming, which is actually a pretty neat feature. As with any game, there are some elements that aren't so great. To start with, there is a limited selection of 4 heroes and 3 companions. This is the kind of game that doesn't rely on the levels to be the unique element, and as a result, I'd like to have seen more player characters. The cards do have some character-specific variants, so I can see how that would complicate things, but I think it's worth the effort. I'm also not a huge fan of some of the UI choices. The card wheel where you spend your gold on new cards feels janky and cheap compared to the rest of the experience. The UI for building decks has a fair bit of visual overlap on what is clickable while filtering cards, and I found that a bit awkward to use. And the UI for showing quests also feels pretty bare bones. For a game that is as flashy as this, these UI elements are simply boring. From an options perspective, the game has a wide range of features. Audio levels can be adjusted individually, which of course is excellent to see. From the graphics side, they included everything from the highest setting, which is called Gloriously Heavy, all the way down to a setting called Ugly But Fast. And you can go into the advanced options and customize it to your preferences. Everything from shadow resolution to world details like foliage and extraneous options like ambient occlusion, bloom, and anti-aliasing. The one thing that I found was missing, though, is a VSync option. Forced Showdown does perform well, but is very resource intensive at the highest settings. I found it was maxing out my GTX 970 usage at 99% constantly, even slightly below the highest settings. Now, I was getting 300 plus frames per second, but I think it's safe to say that the game could do with a little optimizing and perhaps an upper frame limit so as to not treat your video card like a Bitcoin miner. It also has some very long load times in between matches, which is not really good. They're having some server issues too, which essentially causes the daily and seasonal structure to be non-functional when there's a problem. As I understand it, this is a pretty high priority for them to fix right now, but it's still a little broken, so something to keep in mind. I've also confirmed with the developer that the build I'm playing on is the release version. At the end of it all, my conclusion is simple. Forced Showdown is a game that surprised the hell out of me. I went into this title expecting a crappy little brawler, and what I got was anything but that. The combat is responsive and fun, the audio hilarious and incredible, both in music and voiceover. The game looks great and plays great. Yeah, some of the menu UI is boring and it's got a reasonably long load time, but for $20, I think this game is great value and absolutely worth playing. And if all of that hasn't convinced you that this is a title worth trying out, watch this level intro to see just how good the game is at pumping you up.
Welcome to yet another exciting round of Forced Showdown! The only show in the galaxy with lives on the line. As always, the rules are that the contestant must fight his way through numerous titans, earning points along the way. Tonight's show will be Frontline. At the end of the hall stands the ultimate challenge, Ruby Von Worthington!
The best defense is a lot of firepower.
See, I told you so. My name is Tarmack, and this was my review of Forced Showdown by Beta Dwarf. It's out on Steam, GOG, and the Humble Store on March 29th for $19.99 US base price, and whatever the Twitch streamer event gets the actual launch price down to. If you enjoyed this and or found it useful, please do share it with your friends or random internet strangers on Twitter, Reddit, and so on. Thanks for watching.
Arena completed.
Cheers. Bye-bye.